Alright you guys, we hop into the 2-5 game here at TCH, in for $1,500, and right off the bat we get ourselves into an interesting spot with ace-queen offsuit from the small blind. Few limps over to the cutoff, who decides to raise it up to $35. Actions on me, I have a pretty clear 3-bet, and I decide to make it $125. Think I probably could be going a little bit larger to the tune of $150, but that's neither here nor there. The action folds back around to the cutoff, who decides to put in the elusive 4-bet and makes it $250. Actions back over to me, and I fold. For those of you guys that think that folding to a 4-bet here is a little bit nitty, let's just quickly pull up GTO Wizard. You can see here ace-queen off is a clear fold. However, ace-queen suited, got to be calling all day. The only side piece of information here is his 4-bet was really small, only 250 to my 125. So that could be an argument to calling. However, in theory, I made a good fold. Whether it was a good one in this moment, we'll never know. Moving right along into the next hand. In this next hand, the $10 under the gun straddle is on, and Danny in the +1 position raises it blind up to $20. Villain on the button 3-bets to 125, and I decide to put in the call with pocket sixes. I don't really think Danny is going to come in for a back 4-bet, so calling here should be fine as long as Danny's not going to do that. Otherwise, I'm lighting 125 on fire. Danny obliges and puts in the call. We're going 3 ways to a flop. Would love to see a 6 on it, but that's not what we get. Instead, it's a paired board on an 8-8 deuce with 2 spades. I start with a check. Actions on Danny, and he bets out now for $150 into the pre-flop raiser. The pre-flop raiser puts in the call and actions back over to me. What do we do? I decide to put in the call here. I think raising also has some merit. Danny could be firing out here with a spade draw. The villain on the button could be calling with a hand like ace-king with the ace of spades, king-queen with the king of spades. So I decide to put in the call here. But I think in the future, also mixing in some raises might be the play as well. Either way, we're going off of the turn, which comes the 10 of diamonds, and I once again check. Actions back over to Danny, and into the pot, he jams $1,000 effective, clearing the button out of the way. And now we're faced with a decision. It's $1,000 effective. He has me covered. Now, can I put in the call here with pocket sixes? I think the short answer is yes. The long answer is it's a little bit more complicated. Danny could have any sort of combination of 8x. He also could have pocket 10s, I guess, but he probably would have 3-bet those pre-flops. So at this point, I'm either putting Danny on a spade draw or an 8. I decide in this moment to fold my cards. I somehow convinced myself that Danny had value in this spot, at least more than bluffs, and I fold my cards and instantly regret it when he confidently shows the table. 4-3 of spades. We got to see what the river card would have been, and of course, a red king of hearts peels off, and Danny would have bricked off. We would have scooped in a 3K pot, but instead, we're left rebuying an additional $500, topping up right into this next hand, where I look down at Jack 10 of diamonds from the big blind. The straddle's on, a few limps over to the cutoff, who raises it up to $50. I decide to come in for a 3-bet here of $175. The cutoff puts in the call, and just like that, we are heads up, out of position to a flop. On a Jack 6-5 board, really not too much to worry about unless he has pocket 6s or pocket 5s. He really shouldn't have pocket jacks, so I bet out for $115, and the cutoff pretty quickly puts in the call, bringing in the 3 of diamonds on the turn. Actions on me once again, and there's some heart and straight draws out there, so I think I should continue betting, considering I am at the top of my range here with a pair of jacks. I decide to fire out for $400 utilizing a 1K chip. And the villain in the cutoff is not going anywhere. He gets sticky, puts in the call, and just like that, we are going off to the river. $1,400 in the middle, and the river comes the 3 of spades. I think betting here doesn't really accomplish too much because it folds out all of his worst hands, and we're only going to get called by hands that we chop with and better hands. Meanwhile, checking allows him to bluff with some busted heart draws. That's what I decided to do, but the villain in the cutoff is happy to get to a showdown. When he checks behind, I'm hoping I'm going to scoop this. Instead, when I turn over my Jack 10, he has the exact same hand. It's like that Spider-Man meme when they're pointing at each other. Yeah, we're chopping up this $1,400 pot here. Really felt like I could have scooped that one in. But I guess at least he didn't have Jack Queen. Shouldn't be greedy in this spot. All right, we're upgrading Ace King of Spades now from the small blind. The straddle's on, and I raise it up to $50. Player in the big blind is a vlog watcher named Varun. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, man. He puts in the call, and just like that, we're off to a pretty nice flop of King 9-3 with 2 hearts. I decided to go for a range bet here of $35, considering I'm out of position and he could have some heart and maybe some straight draws like Jack 10, Queen Jack, stuff like that. Probably could size up here to the tune of 60 bucks. But nevertheless, when I bet 35, he puts in the call, and we are going off to the turn. Turn's a wet one. It comes the ace of hearts, brings in 2 pair for me, but also that front door heart draw is something we have to watch out for. Still, I think when I make 2 pair, can't immediately give him credit for having a heart flush. So I decided to bet out for $75. Would have also liked to see me size up here a bit more, considering I don't have a heart in my hand. I think somewhere around 125 is a little bit better. Varun likes that price though and puts in the call, bringing in a pretty harmless card, the Jack of Clubs. Really shouldn't be worried about Queen 10 here. I think that would have folded by now. Unless, of course, he had Queen 10 of hearts, but then again, that already had me beat. Now, what do you guys do here? 330 in the middle. Are you scared of the heart flush and check it over to Varun? Do you bet out for value here? That's what I decided to do in the moment. And I decided to go for a nearly pot-sized bet into the $330 pot to the tune of 285 bucks. I'm hoping and praying Varun puts in the call here and maybe I can win back some money from that big hand against Danny. But instead, Varun decides to rip it all in for $815 effective, and the action's back over to me. It's around another $500 for me to call. He is a vlog watcher, so you have to add in some element of wanting to make the vlog, wanting to beat Wolfgang, maybe bluff him, stuff like that. However, he's really telling the story that he has a set or a flush, mostly a flush. I think a lot of sets here might just call and be scared of the 3 hearts on board. I think about it for a while. Folding here seems criminal with top 2, but it could be the right play. I don't always make the right play, and this time I put in the call. And sure enough, Varun turns over the bad news for us. 10-6 of hearts. I guess it's the big blind special. He's going to take in that 2K pot. Maybe I could have gotten away from it there. Kind of a small punt from me, but top 2 felt pretty good in that spot. Although I don't really know what his bluffs would be in this spot, you have to take 2 things into consideration. A, we're in Texas. People like to bluff. And B, Varun's a vlog watcher. He wants to make the video. There's going to be more bluffs in his range. Still, losing a 2K pot doesn't feel too good, but at least it's going back to the YouTube community. Enough's enough. This 2-5 game isn't going to get me out of the hole. I transfer over to the only 5-10 game running in the room. Add on for an additional 6.5K. And yeah, I should say the $25 straddle is always on. So if we're going to make back that $1,900 loss in the 2-5, this is definitely the table to do it. First hand of the 5, 10, 25 session, we get rewarded with the bullets. 6,600 in my stack, and we see an open from middle position to 75 bucks. I like this table already. The stakes are much higher, and I have the best hand ever created, so I decided to 3-bet him up to 275, and he's not going anywhere, puts in the call. We see a pretty great board of King Jack 8 with 2 spades. I decided to go for a bet here. Pretty good board for the small blind 3-betting range. So I decided to go out for 200 bucks, and he instantly folds. Kind of a bummer to not win more with pocket aces, but still, taking down a pot, can't be too mad about that. We find ourselves in this next hand with pocket nueves. I'm in the cutoff and open it up to 75 bucks, and the big blind puts in the call. Just like that, we are going off to a flop, which comes Jack 6-3 with 2 spades. He checks it over to me. I'd expect him to do that almost all the time. And I go for a standard C-bet here of 50 bucks, around 1/3 the size of the pot. Big blind's not having any of it. He decides to check raise me 5x, all the way up to $250. And let's just quickly think about what he might have in this spot. Sure, he could have a hand like 6-3, Jack 6, pocket 6s, pocket 3s. But he's also going to have a lot of spade flush draws here, as well as hands like ace 4, 4, 5. So I can't be folding just yet. I have a pair that's pretty hard to make in poker, and I decided to put in the call. It is $200 more, so got to be concerned that the pot is getting pretty large here, and I have second pair. But when I put in the call, we see a disaster card on the turn. The ace of spades immediately brings in a lot of his draws. He doesn't slow down and bets out for $200, and you could consider folding on this card. However, I do have a spade in my hand, and yeah, I'm trying to get unstuck in this game. So I make what I think now is a pretty loose call here. I probably should just be folding, but instead I toss in 2 black chips, and we are going off to the river in a 1K pot, which comes the 10 of clubs. When the opponent in the big blind continues to fire for $500, half the size of the pot, now the white flag has been waved by old Wolfgang. I'm getting out of here. There's no way I'm good when he fires on all 3 streets. I muck my cards, and the villain is taking that one down. All right, a little hijack big blind action for you guys here. The hijack opens it up to 75. I 3-bet him to 275 with the beautiful jack 9 of clubs. He puts in the call, and we are off to a flop, which comes queen high, but there is a 9 on it and a club, so I kind of like that, and I'm first to act. Is this a good board to go for a c-bet on, or should I check it over to the hijack? Heck no, I'm not giving him the initiative in this hand. I bet out for $200, and the action's over to him. He says $200, screw that. We are playing for more, and immediately raises me up to $600. The action's back over to me. I will be going out of position the rest of the way, but I think my hand is way too strong to fold. I have the pair, I have the backdoor club draw, and the jack is very important because I could back into some straights as well. So I toss in a $500 magenta chip, and we are going off the turn, which is a pretty good card. It comes the queen of clubs. It does pair the board, but I pick up the backdoor club draw, and I wisely check it over to the hijack. I'm looking to call here a bet of $750. That's kind of the sizing I think he's going to utilize here, but that's not what he wants to do. He wants to put maximum pressure on me and bets for $1,500 into the nearly $1,800 pot. Puts me in a weird spot here. The board is paired. Don't love to see that. Wish it was the 10 of clubs instead. I think at the end of the day, after doing a little bit of simple math here, I don't think I'm getting the right price to call. I think in hindsight, raising here might be an interesting play, because is he really betting this large when the queen pairs? If he had a hand like king queen or ace queen, I don't really know, but what I do know is I fold my cards, not trying to draw to a flush on a paired board when he's giving me a pretty bad price to do so. So unfortunately for us, we pick up a decent card that gives us more equity, but I decide to fold. I'm handcuffed in this one, and we are moving right into the next hand, where I look down at 10-8 of spades from under the gun. I make it $75, and the straddler, who goes by Matthias, he is a Czechoslovakian pro. He puts in the call. Make with that information what you will. He puts in the call, and we're off to a flop, which gives me top pair on a monotone board of 10-9-3, all hearts. I guess I was so distracted that Matthias was in the hand that I didn't realize the big blind was also in this one as well. So yeah, we are 3 ways to a flop. And yeah, the action checks over to me on a monotone board. Even though I have top pair, I'm going to do a lot of checking. I decide to check it behind, bringing in a pretty harmless 5 of spades. The big blind checks it over to Matthias, who decides to bet out for 125. I think it'd be pretty nitty to fold top pair. So that leaves me with one option, which is calling. And we're off to the river, which comes the 8 of clubs, giving me 2 pair. And now he doesn't slow down once again and bets out for $100. I put in the snap call. It's going to be very hard for me to get called by worse if I decide to raise. He turns over ace-8 offsuit with the ace of hearts. Luckily for us, we faded the 4th heart, and we are scooping down a $680 pot. USA 1, Czechoslovakia 0. King 7 of diamonds now from the small blind, 2 limps to me, and I raise it up to 125. Both players put in the call. They didn't limp to fold for $125 more. And just like that, we are going 3 ways to a flop, which gives me a diamond draw, 9-4 deuce, 2 diamonds. I'm out of position to both opponents, and this isn't exactly the best board for my 3-betting range. Ace king, king queen, king jack, all that garbage is really not going to love this flop, so I decide to start with a range check, and the hijack bets out for 175. When the cutoff puts in the call for 175, we have a decision between check raising and just calling. What would I be representing here with a check raise that's value? Maybe a hand like pocket 9s, but would I be checking that to the other 2 opponents on a 2-diamond board? Ace 5 of diamonds, ace 5 of hearts might want to go for a check raise. But all in all, not too much value. Maybe pocket 10s, pocket jacks. I think I like calling a lot more, and I definitely like it when I put in the call and we see the 5 of diamonds on the turn. Bang, we turn the flush. Not going to be donking out into the field on this 3rd diamond. That looks pretty obvious, so I start with a check. Hijack checks it over to the cutoff, who doesn't want to let a free card peel off. Instead, he bets out for $700. Music to my ears. Love this. We turn the second nuts. Any ace-high diamond draw would have us beat. However, second nuts is pretty great for me, and now I need to think about how I can get stacks in. I think just calling here and then leading flop or checking it over to the cutoff is kind of weird. He could just check behind on the river and we would have missed out on some value. I think I need to spring the trap now. It does look pretty obvious that I do have a flush. I might have some bluffs here. I'm not too sure how many bluffs I would have in this spot, going for a check raise on a 3-diamond board. But nevertheless, if I want to get stacks in by the river, got to put in more money now. I toss out 2 1K chips. That's a raise and clears the other player out of the field. And the cutoff now goes into the tank. He doesn't love this spot. At this point, I'm putting him on a set. Maybe something like pocket 5s or maybe a 2 pair like 4-5. I don't know, but what I do know is this raise just looks a little bit too strong for him. Maybe I should have sized up a little bit more. The 2K raise might have looked a little too value heavy. Instead, he folds his cards, taking down a pot, but I feel like there could have been a little bit more meat on that bone. All right, a few more hands to go here before our night is over. I decide to raise up ace-queen offsuit. The button limps, I raise it up to 100 and he puts in the call. Off to a flop which comes king 5-4 with 2 hearts, and I decide to go for a c-bet of $75. He puts in the call and the turn brings in the 5 of clubs. I decide to bet my range for 225, considering I'll have all the ace-king, king-queen, pocket kings, all that good stuff, so I deserve to bet big here. And he says baloney with all that. He raises me up to 625, representing a hand like ace-5, 5-6, pocket 4s, and I'm forced to fold my ace-high. No worries for us. Ace-9 suited becomes the next hand we play. I'm in the hijack, and Matthias in the cutoff raises it up to $75. I 3-bet him to 225. The small blind makes an interesting play here, which I don't recommend, and cold calls a 3-bet out of the small blind. That's just losing money, man. If any of you guys are watching this, do not do that. Matthias puts in the call, and just like that, we are going 3 ways to a flop, which comes king high and 2 clubs on it. Pretty nice for us. King 10-7, and the action checks over to me. If I could think of a board to go for a c-bet on, this would definitely qualify. I like around half the size of the pot, and me of a week ago agrees with a 325 bet, which clears the field. Even though taking it down with ace-high feels pretty good, I had a feeling in my gut that another club was coming, so I really wish someone would have check-raised me there, or even just put in the call. Still, that brings me into the last hand of the night. Remember the first hand of this 5, 10, 25 table? Yeah, we're getting that exact same hand here. Pocket aces once again, the last hand of the night. I'm in the big blind, and the hijack opens it up to $75. Even better news is the cutoff who decides to call, which means I get to size up larger here on my 3-bet out of the big blind. $350 has a nice ring to it. That's what I decide to make it, and the cutoff decides to put in the call. The initial raiser out of the hijack folds, so kind of a little bit strange there that the initial raiser folds, but the caller decides that it's good for 75, it's good for 350. Go figure. Either way, we're off to a flop, which comes queen 4 deuce rainbow, and I'm out of position to him. I'm going to be mostly wanting to bet on this flop. I'm going to have pocket queens, ace queen, king queen. However, when you think about the nuts on this board, he's probably going to have more pocket 4s and pocket deuces than me, so throwing pocket aces here into a checking range seems fine from time to time. That's what I decide to do, and the opponent does not decide to bet this flop, so I don't really think he's going to have 4s and deuces anymore, and I pretty much can deduce that I have the best hand. So when the 8 of clubs peels off on the turn, I decide to size up here, trying to get some of that missed value on the flop, and bet out for $600. Now, most likely the opponent is going to fold. When he checks back on the flop, he really isn't going to be doing that too much with any queen or any set. So when he puts in the call here, kind of surprises me. Maybe he has a hand like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, pocket 7s, or maybe he just has a hand like queen 10 and wanted to check back for pot control. Either way, when he puts in the call and the river card comes the deuce of diamonds, it pairs the board. And I'm first to act, obviously. I think I need to go large here and target any of his pocket pairs and maybe any of his weak queens that decided to check back on the flop. Another good thing about going large here is I probably would do that with all of my bluffs as well. For instance, if I check the flop with like ace-king or king-jack suited or ace-10 suited, I probably would go blasto on the turn and river. And yeah, so if I'm doing that with all my bluffs, have to be doing that with my value. And into the $2,000 pot comes a bet of $1,700, which puts him in a conundrum. He doesn't look comfortable at all, but he also doesn't look like he wants to fold. Absolutely amazing. That's what we wanted to see, an uncomfortable opponent, not really believing that we have a queen in this spot when we checked it over to him on the flop. That was the goal of that check. You got to confuse him from time to time. But after a few seconds of thinking about it, the opponent unfortunately does not pay us off. He later said he had pocket jacks. So yeah, maybe I could have gotten one more street of value, but I like my size up on the river, put them in a weird spot, and trying to go for max value in that one. So yeah, with that last hand in the books, we rack up our chips, not before we get a few pictures for the thumbnail and for some montage clips right now. And let's take it to the outro. All right, here's the deal, wrapping up that 6.5-hour session here from Las Colinas in Dallas. We got in for 8,500 between both of the games combined, and we ended up getting out for 82.90, so a net loss of $210. I was stuck around $1,900 at my worst, so not a bad comeback there. Unfortunately, we could not get paid off with a pocket aces. He said he had jacks. Maybe I should have gone a little bit less, but I was trying to target a queen or honestly some sort of non-believing pocket pair. If he would have put in the money there like he thought about it for a few seconds, we would have been up like 1,500 bucks, but instead booking a $210 loss. Doesn't feel too bad though, considering we were stuck around 2K. If you guys like this video, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Got some fun stuff coming up. I am playing in a few days on a 25/50 live stream here from Texas. So stay tuned for that. And then I'm gonna go fly to Mexico and play in 2 games out in Monterrey. So if you guys wanna see those videos, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, do all that jazz. Good luck on the felt, you guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.
Is that Wolfgang Poker?